G'day, it's Matt here from Day One Advisory. We're a accounting and bookkeeping practice in Melbourne, and we look after e-commerce businesses. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about unit economics for e-com brands. It's vitally important for any business to understand how they make money, but it's super important for e-commerce businesses to understand how much money they make from each type of product they sell, each SKU, each geographic region, what have you. And the starting point for that and a good financial understanding of business is to understand the unit economics. So when I say unit economics, I mean how much profit, or what is the income and the costs associated with each of the products you sell. What is the cost of acquiring the customer to buy that product, and what's the contribution margin available? By understanding the unit economics in really clearly, it will help you choose which products you need to keep selling, which ones you need to take off the shelf, which ones you should just liquidate the inventory for and cash out of. It'll help you understand which products you should be putting your marketing behind and which ones you should never be out of stock for. It will help you understand what capacity you've got for discounting, and it'll help you understand how much cash you've got available to spend on ads to acquire the customers for those products. So I'm going to walk through a pretty basic example today. Now, every business is going to be different. Some who sell thousands of SKUs are not going to be able to do this offhand in Excel, and they're going to need a better system in place to track it. But I think by going through a basic example, you'll see the points that I'm trying to make in terms of why it's important that you have it. So let's say we have, in this business, we have 2 SKUs. Very simple. That's it. That's all they sell. And we need to work through how much money we sell these for, what it costs us to sell them, how much it costs to acquire the customer, and what profits available from those. So let's say the sales price is $100 and $200. We need to pay the GST to the ATO. Let me format this so it doesn't look like a dog's breakfast while we do it. Sure, there's a faster way to do that, but I don't know what it is, so that's the way I do it. Let's say, so we got the net sales price. That's the actual amount that we're going to get. Well, sorry, we're not going to get that. We're going to get the 100. We're going to have to pay it to the ATO, so this bit's never our money, so we've got to stop thinking about it our money and carve it off to pay the ATO in the BAS each quarter. So we've got the net sales price for each of these 2 SKUs. We then need to understand the cost of goods sold. Now, I'm going to assume, for argument's sake, this business is warehouses their products and distributes them via a 3PL. So we'll include the costs referable to that. The starting point is landed costs. Now, landed costs, I'm going to do another video on this, but landed costs are all of the costs that are incurred to get that product to, in this case, the 3PL ready to be shipped out to the customer. So that's going to include the actual product cost itself, the cost of shipping it to Australia if you're importing it, the customs charges, not the GST, so exclude GST from this, that's going to be claimed back. So everything now I'm talking about is excluding GST. You'll have your customs costs, you'll have the actual freight costs, getting it maybe from the wharf to your 3PL. You might have some insurance costs or something like that. It's all of the costs associated with getting your product to the warehouse, to your 3PL in this case. So let's say we've then got packing costs for the 3PL, $10, and let's just say, if I can say $15. I'm just making some numbers up. I'll show you in a second, or I'll talk to you in a second about where I would find these numbers. The next one is we're going to have some merchant fees to sell the product. Let's say we're charged about 5.5%. We're going to have the shipping to customer. So this is the last mile freight. It's the cost of getting it from your 3PL to the customer's door, and we'll say that it's 10 and 15 in this case. And what else are we missing? That's probably enough for now. I'm sure there's some other costs, but they're the only ones I can think of off the top of my head. So we have a $46 total cost and a $71 total cost. We can then use those numbers to figure out our gross profit. So our gross profit in this case is, why won't they go back to left? SKU 1, we take the 91 and minus the 46. Now remember, these costs here are excluding GST. So we've got a $45 gross profit margin on this particular product and $111 on this second product here. We can then go and work out our gross profit margin. Oops, daisies. I did do that the right way around the first time. Apologies. So we've got a 50% margin and a 61% margin. Next, we then need to understand what our customer acquisition costs are, our cost per acquisition, our return on ad spend, whatever you want to, whichever way you want to put it. We need to understand how much it costs us to acquire the customer to buy that product from us. So in this case, let's say that the purchase price is, let's say we've got a 4 times return on ad spend. So let's say we've got a 4 times return on ad spend for this particular product, and we've got a 5 times return on ad spend for this particular product here. Once we know the customer acquisition cost, we can then we'll calculate what the contribution margin is for each of these products. Now, contribution margin is the amount that is available. Well, it's the amount left over after you've incurred all of the costs to acquire the product, acquire the customer, and get the product to the customer. The reason I think it's called contribution margin, or at least in my head, I might be wrong here. The reason it's called contribution margin is how much does that product contribute to paying the overheads and the profit of the business. So once you understand the contribution margin, you then know how much, each time I sell this product, how much is available to fund my overheads and my profit. So we've got the contribution margin. We would then go and work out what our contribution margin percentage is, and that's going to give us, tell us how much money we make on each of these products. Now, this is fundamentally unit economics. I have done that at a very high level, very basic. It is much more complicated than that to understand it in detail, and it's going to depend on the quality of the information that you've got on hand. The better your systems are, the more likely you are to get or be able to calculate your unit economics easily and accurately. Now, where would you get this information from if you weren't making it up off the top of your head like me? Obviously, your sales price, I think, is self-explanatory. You should know how much you sell your product to your customer. The GST is you just divide your gross sale price by 11, and that will give you the GST component. Obviously, getting your net sale price is then going to say, well, all right, I'm going to take the GST off the sale price. Your landed costs should really come from your inventory system. I've seen businesses, and I've done it for businesses, where we've calculated landed costs in Excel. That's fine for the first order, or if you consistently sell out of orders before getting new stock. But as soon as you have multiple orders with different landed cost per unit, it becomes incredibly difficult to track it accurately, and it ends up being death by spreadsheet. So you really need an inventory system in place so that you can say, right, this order, I bought 10 of these SKUs and 50 of that one and 1,000 of that one, blah, blah, blah. And then it will go and apportion the shipping costs across those based on either the units you purchased or the cost of those units, or I'm sure there's some other ways that you can manage it. The 3PL packing costs are going to come from your 3PL invoice. If you don't use a 3PL and you're just packing yourselves and you go and buy boxes and the other packing material, etc., in bulk, you really want to build that into your inventory system so that you understand, right, for this particular product I need that cardboard box and this much packing material and this sticker and that blah blah blah, and then you'll get a really accurate understanding of what your costs are from your inventory system. Merchant fees, you can get that data from Shopify, PayPal, or Afterpay, or whatever other merchant you use. Now, just noting that if you're using things like another merchant other than ShopPay, you're going to have their fees plus Shopify's fees. So just make sure you go and have a look at what your total is, because it actually does add up. Like, we're talking more often than not, certainly for smaller retailers, I think it's like 5-6% by the time you add it all up. It's a lot of money, proportionately based on your, depending on how much it's a lot of money. So make sure you go and track that accurately. Now, shipping to customer, obviously that's going to come from your carrier. So Australia Post is sort of an example there. The difficult thing to estimate here is it's going to depend for a lot of people on where you send that stock. So if it's a local city or major city, it's obviously going to be different to sending it out into the middle of nowhere. What I would say is you can go and calculate a weighted average shipping cost based on proportionately how much of your stock is sold to cities versus to regional areas, etc., and then come back with a pretty accurate number there. Your customer acquisition costs, or cost per acquisition, again, I would be ideally having a separate system to manage this. I haven't used it personally yet, but I have seen Profit Peak. Looks like a pretty awesome bit of kit to go and really attribute customer acquisition costs to particular SKUs. Alternatively, you could go and take an average across historical sales and understand what your customer acquisition costs have been. If you're a new business, you're going to have to probably estimate this based on and then update it as you go to align with what your expectations with what really happened. So once we've got all the data, this is your unit economics, right? So this is understanding how much contribution margin do I actually make per SKU that I sell. What do you do next, right? What's the next step with this information? It's great to have that. Actually, sorry, before I go on with that, let's talk about why it's important. The first thing is, let's say these products have a very different dollar value in terms of contribution. Assuming you can continue to sell as much of each of these as you want and you've got them in stock, these different contribution margins to me would indicate that I should be putting all of my marketing spend behind that particular SKU. This is like my A grade product and this is my B grade product. I should be putting all of my effort and my ad spend into acquiring customers to buy this product, assuming I can keep this customer acquisition cost there. Because every time someone buys this product, I'm going to make $51 more than if they bought this product. So you need to make sure that by understanding your unit economics, you can understand where you're going to put your money and what that's going to get you the best return for. So like I said, if I was this business owner, I would be putting all of my ad spend, or as much of it as I could, into buying customers for SKU 2 in this case. The other thing it would do, let's say for argument's sake, you had a different landed cost to this. Let's say you had a contribution margin of $5 for this SKU. That might make this a D-class SKU, and you go, look, I just can't afford, I'm just not going to stock it anymore. I'm not going to bother trying to sell it. I'm not going to put ad spend behind it. I'm going to cash out the inventory and I'll bail out of this one, and let's not bother stocking it because it's not profitable. I mean, in some cases, I've seen businesses where their gross profit margin is so low, it doesn't leave any capacity behind to spend money on ads, and therefore the contribution margin is negative. But they continue to sell it because they don't properly understand their unit economics, and so they don't realize that they're putting ad spend after something that's actually going to lose them money. And what happens is these other SKUs which are profitable are hiding it because overall the business might be profitable, but these profitable SKUs are sort of funding the loss over here. So by understanding your unit economics, you can really understand where you should be directing your marketing spend. You can understand which products you should be stocking and which ones you might want to actually take off the shelf. You can understand and talk to your marketing team about where they should be putting their efforts into their ad spend. So let me just expand on that point a little bit. Let's say you just gave them like a return on ad spend metric. They could go and pump that ad spend into both of these products and get a pretty good looking return on ad spend. But the reality is you should be putting your money into SKU 2 because that's going to give you a better contribution margin and therefore profit. So you can start incentivizing advertising teams and marketing teams around pushing this particular SKU and making the metric profit, not just return on ad spend. The other thing that is helpful to understand is by knowing your contribution margin, you know that you should always have stock of this product, right? Don't ever run out of stock of that39% margin on it, you should always have it in stock and available to be sold to customers. The final thing that I want to say that is helpful to understand when you're selling, where you're looking at these products, and why unit economics is important, is it gives you an understanding of what capacity you have for discounting. So we just went through, it's January 2025, so retailers have finished Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Boxing Day. It's been a hell of a period. Everybody has been discounting their products, and some people discounting unprofitably. So let's say you went and were discounting these products, and you said, I'm going to put a 20% discount across the board on everything. So let's say it's a new customer sign up gets 10%, and or let's just say you've got a flat discount across everything. If we go and take our, let's say, net sale price after discount is that times minus that. Take the you need to back the GST out. Your sale price on that product is now 73, net sale price and 145. If we then go and take off our COGS and our cost per acquisition, we then understand that by discounting this product by 20%, we're actually going to lose money. So we don't have the capacity to offer a 20% discount. If we offered a 15% discount, then we've got a very small profit. And my question would be is unless you're going to buy you buy customers that consistently return without needing a discount or to be purchased again, then maybe. But it's a pretty low profit margin or contribution margin. You'd have to sell a shitload of these products in order to make money. So this might illustrate to you that on this particular product, I can really only afford to make a 5% discount in order to make a profit. SKU 2, obviously there's a much bigger profit built into this. So you could afford a bigger discount. The thing I would say on that though is if you can acquire a customer without needing to discount, obviously you want to be here, not down here. So that is the final point there, is that by understanding your unit economics, you understand which products or how much capacity you have for discounting against your products. Now, once you've got this info, you can take it a step further. So start with this, make sure you understand your unit economics. The next step then is to go, right, well, how many of these products do I need to sell in order to cover my costs and then to make the profit that we want to make? So let's go and have a look at the overhead expenses. These are things like subscriptions, might be rent for your office, it might be things like insurance, bookkeeping and accounting. It's going to be, what else is going to be in here? You've got subscriptions, rent, insurance, overheads. I'm blanking. I don't know why. Phone and internet, you know, that sort of stuff. And you've got other, I'm sure there's a laundry list of other things that people, customer service is probably the other one I would want to note. Customer service, other. So these are the costs that you incur to run this business that aren't directly referable to buying a customer. So for example, if you've got monthly rent of your office for $5,000, you're going to incur that $5,000 whether you sell one of these products or 10,000 of those products. So that's why they're referred to as fixed overheads and not included in the COGS over here. So let's say, let's just make up some numbers here. Let's say we have subscriptions of $3,000 per month. We've got insurance of $1,000, $500 per month. We pay $1,500 for our bookkeeping and everything to get done. We got $500 there. Oh, sorry, the other key one, wages. So let's say we outsource our customer service for $4,500 a month, and we've got wages of $30,000. We've got total monthly overhead expenses of $45 and annual costs of $540. Now, let's say historically we sold 1,000 of these units per month, and we sold 500 of these units per month. The total contribution margin available for these products each month is going to be 15,000 and 35,000. So in this example, we would make a total of $50,000 per month, which goes towards funding our overhead costs. So in that particular example, you're then going to go and pay 45 grand. You would end up with a profit per month of $5,000 or $69,000 per month. Sorry, per year. Now that $69,000 per year, that might be, you might be fine with that. But what it does tell me here is that, actually, I'm going to simplify this a little bit. Let's say, for argument's sake, we've only got this SKU. In order to break even, which means we cover all of our costs, we need to sell 2,920 units per month to cover costs. Right? Let's then say we wanted to make a profit on top of that. We then need to sell, well, for every unit above this, it contributes to profit. So let's say we have a profit target of, $30,000, right? We have to sell $75,000 worth of stock, or in this case, because we're selling, we've got a contribution margin of $15, we need to sell 4,867 units. So by understanding your unit economics, you get an appreciation for what is your break even, and that's to cover costs, and you also get an understanding of what is your unit sales required in order to cover your costs plus make the profit target that you want to meet. Obviously, I've used a pretty basic example there by saying, let's just look at one SKU. Now, you're going to have many SKUs, potentially thousands. You can get a weighted average of how many of those SKUs you sell and use that data to understand what your weighted average break-even is per unit. I'm not going to go into that detail in this video because it's way too much detail. It would take way too long. But you need to understand it at that level, or at least having the contribution margin lets you then go and dive into these things further to understand things like break-even, units in terms of units, as well as dollar value in terms of sales. So I think that's about all I want to say on this point. Just to recap, for any e-com brand, for any business for that matter, understanding your profitability and how you make money is super important. For e-commerce businesses, you really need to do that and have that visibility on a per SKU basis. You can then go further and start looking at things like product categories, geographic locations, etc. You can do it on an average customer basis, and you can start profiling customers, etc. The starting point, though, is to understand your profit that you make on each unit or each product that you sell. The reason you need to understand that information is, one, to figure out, are you making any profit on these products, and should you keep selling them or should you get rid of them? The second thing is to understand what capacity, by understanding the gross profit, you understand what capacity you have to spend acquiring the customer for that particular product. If you have a very low gross profit, then obviously you're going to need a very high return on ad spend in order to make that profitable. If you have a really high margin product, then you can afford to spend some more money on ads because your real dollar contribution margin for selling that product might be a lot higher. You will also understand, by knowing the contribution margin and your unit economics, is what capacity you have to discount your products. And I think the last thing I would say is it's going to give you the ability to understand which products you just it's going to give you an understanding of where you can better direct your marketing. And then when you do redirect that marketing to those products, like SKU 2 in this example, that is more profitable, is that you know that you always need to have SKU 2 in stock, because every time you sell it, you're going to make $71 in this example. So it would be crazy to try and sell that product and not have any in stock or not have it available to sell. So look, hopefully that has been, that's useful. Obviously a basic example. If you've got any questions about how to calculate this in your business, or putting in place the systems that are required in order to get these numbers out accurately, then by all means reach out to us at Day One Advisory, and I'm happy to have a chat with you.